Two questions.
Oh, the last two, yes.
Good evening. The February 27th, 2019 meeting of the Long Branch City Council will now come to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler?
Here.
Mr. Vieira?
Here.
Dr. Vogt?
Here.
Dr. Selly?
Here.
Mrs. Wittes?
Here. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
And I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspapers in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call Kelly Hughes to please come forward.
Very pretty.
Kelly works in Chief Roebuck's office. She's a valued employee for the City of Long Branch and does her job with a friendliness and dedication that is hard to duplicate. She's the face and the voice of the Chief's office, but she goes above and beyond her role every day and represents the city in an exemplary manner. Ms. Hughes operates the police and city Facebook page, often working on it during night and evening hours, answering questions and comments. She puts a friendly face on her interactions with the citizens through these mediums, and currently the police Facebook page has over 9,000 followers. She works extremely well with others and other departments. An example of this is the new entry access system the city currently installed. Ms. Hughes was thrust into the operation as she controls the key card access to the police department. This turned into her working with the vendor on the project, issuing and reissuing key cards and entry fobs to not only the police officers but all city employees. This necessitated new photos and IDs. She also set up the entry zones and permissions. All this was done while she continued to perform her regular duties without skipping a beat. Ms. Hughes deserves recognition for the Employee of the Month for daily interactions with the public and her willingness to take on more responsibilities. She is a professional in her duties every day, and the Chief states that he doesn't know how they would operate without her. On behalf of the Mayor and Council, we'd like to thank you for your continued service with the City of Long Branch. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
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 Well deserved. Yay, yay. No.
Okay, reading and approval of previous minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of February 13th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Vieira?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes. Consideration of ordinances, public hearing, and final consideration. This is the second reading of ordinance number 1-19 entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 103, Alcoholic Beverages of the Code of the City of Long Branch, BYOB. This ordinance was introduced on February 13th, 2019. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If there is anyone in the audience that has a comment to make regarding this ordinance, please step to the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once. Okay, I need a motion to close.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This is the third reading of ordinance 1-19 entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 103 Alcoholic Beverages of the Code of the City of Long Branch, BYOB. I need a motion to adopt on third and final reading and advertise according to law.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes. Ordinances for introduction. This is the first reading of ordinance 2-19 entitled an ordinance of the City of Long Branch, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, approving the application of and the execution of financial agreements with Long Branch Partners, Urban Renewal Associates, Phase 1, LLC, and Long Branch Partners Urban Renewal Associates, Phase 2, LLC, in connection with portions of the Oceanfront Broadway redevelopment area. I need a motion to introduce on first reading, advertise, and post according to law, and set the public hearing for March 27th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes. This is the first reading of ordinance 3-19 entitled a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements
Thank you.
in and by the City of Long Branch in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, appropriating $4,850,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of $4,850,000 bonds or notes of the city for financing the costs thereof, directing the special assessment of a part of the cost thereof, and authorizing the execution of one or more special assessment agreements in connection therewith. I need a motion to introduce on first reading, advertise, and post accordingly to law, and set the public hearing for March 27th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes. I need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting for all comments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anyone in the audience has any comments to make, please step to the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes, may only speak once.
Hi, my name is Steve Larson. I live at 30 Washington Street, Long Branch. First of all, I want to congratulate the mayor and the council on their elections.
Thank you.
Wish you well and thank you for your service. My prayers go out to the police officers that were involved in that bad accident the other day, and I want to thank them also. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for your initial help with the problem of trash blowing down Broadway. Uptown was always the nicer section of Broadway. It's now turned into, it looks like it's downtown. The businesses there aren't taking care of their trash, covering it. They're abusing the city for picking up trash. They're putting in their own private garbage cans around the corner. The stuff is blowing down our street. The neighbor, two neighbors next to me, today we picked up 2 full garbage cans of trash. And I sent the mayor some pictures, and he was good enough to have one of the businesses come down and take care of the properties. But it's getting out of control. I understand that you have some new employees, I guess the code enforcement, some other people there to take care of that, and I would just like to have you continue to work on that. They're not taking care of the neighborhoods. If you go uptown there, it's Broadway Pizza has old flower pots that have been cracked for years and years and years. And I think all the businesses that apply for, I'm sure there's some kind of licensing that you do, the business owners as well as the landlords should be held accountable to clean up the property. Whether it's the several food establishments up there, the flooring companies, the rug companies, it's just a mess. It's just a mess, and I just wish that you guys would take care of the uptown so it was like it used to be. The business owners used to go out and sweep their sidewalks, and it's just a mess. You got old, dead Christmas trees up there. Just walk the alleyways. Mr. Mayor has, in the previous discussions with him, gone down there, but it really needs attention because people are they're thinking of it as the broken window. They're not cleaning up their properties anymore. St. Luke's Church, which, helps feed and also the warming centers up there. They got a broken toilet that's been out there for a long time. The garbage is all over the place. Just look at that end of Washington Street, and it's really a disgrace. And my family's been there 3 generations, and I voted for you guys, and I appreciate any kind of help that you can give us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Larson, I'll make sure, keep the dialogue going. I'll keep on top of it. I'll speak to the owner again of that corner. And as you know, you're right. On March 11th, we have a new person coming in who's going to handle maintenance, code enforcement. We hope to revamp a lot of that, and that's part of our agenda.
If you even go into the old Cobby's glass, the fat container that you're supposed to put the recycled fat in, it's running out of time.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
The flower pots, by the way, are offered voluntarily, and of course, yes, when you get it, you're supposed to maintain it. But those that are neglected, I'll call Jake at Community Development and have them picked up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we make a note?
Is there anyone else?
Because they ask for them, and then they don't.
Request 1-minute notification. Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch. Ordinance 219. All 5 council members voted yes. From the public record to the public record. Team Pallone members Wittes, Vieira, Vogt, Dangler. Campaigned against tax abatements with 2 individuals, Pallone and Selly, who voted for the 30-year tax abatements for Kushner's Pier Village. 3. Phase 3. 2 members of Team Pallone, Dangler and Wittes, as members of the board in April 2018, that being the Board of Education, summoned area representatives to address the matter of municipal tax abatements. And both Wittes and Dangler, after joining Team Pallone, campaigned against these tax abatements. Tonight, we have this entire council voting yes for the introduction of Ordinance 219 concerning tax abatements. The public record clearly reflects a psychosis. It's psychotic behavior, without question. Many have offered that Team Pallone should rename itself Team Psychotic, with such an unstable record. This ordinance was introduced under the guise of assignment or assumption via Article 9, page 14, section 9.02. This is what is referred to as a legal fugazi, a canard, a charade. Team Pallone, you're not fooling anyone. Everyone sees through you. In order to escape any accountability to your campaign pledge of no tax abatements, you hide behind City Attorney Raynone and watch him put the thumb on the scale to get you off the hook of accountability. It's quite interesting that Exhibit 2 in this ordinance, the long-term tax exemption application, is conveniently blank. It's a bullseye. You violated your campaign pledge. As has been said many times, there is no difference between Schneider Team and Team Pallone. Team Pallone Attorney Raynone is just another page out of the former City Attorney Aaron law firm. Again, no credibility. It's been gone with Team Pallone for quite some time. I will be making a recommendation on the public record in the upcoming budget for a city psychiatrist at City Hall to address the psychosis of Team Pallone, the unstable behavior, so as to prevent further damage to the innocent citizens of Long Branch from your lies and illogical thinking. At last night's Board of Education agenda meeting, the question was asked by me to Board President Coven as to where talks stood between the city and the Board of Education on tax abatements. Board President Coven responded, "A dialogue has been opened and will be continuing." I educated the board last evening that Ordinance 219 was being introduced tonight. And by the time your dialogue with the city is over, Ordinance 219 will be codified in law. They were shocked at that. In your talks, how come, Council, particularly Ms. Wittes and Mr. Dangler, did you not inform the Board of Education that you were going to go ahead with this ordinance?
Mr. Lepore, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Clerk. It's what they call a sucker punch to the Board of Education by two former members, Wittes and Dangler, to a board they were a member of. Both Wittes and Dangler, you have picked up nasty habits hanging around Mayor Pallone and City Attorney Raynon, and you've done it at the expense of your credibility. Junk government continues, and this matter is not going to end with the tax abatements. You will be looking in the mirror at it every night of your lives for the next 2 weeks before it comes up for adoption.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening. Patty Veracchi, 246 Jerome Avenue, Oakhurst. I wanted to bring up the Code Blue Warming Center, and I did appreciate that we do have the community gardens building available for those who need that to stay out of the cold. And I appreciate all the volunteers who have been putting their time in to get that to happen. I was aware when I was volunteering there that it's just a small place. There's a lot more that's needed along this avenue as far as whether there should be a shelter, perhaps. I don't know how big the homeless or the lack of heating need is in the city, but I do know that affordable housing is desperately in need. And as I spoke to some of the members here at Friday night's meeting on Broadway, the partners, the Long Branch partners and the Kushner properties, it's very disappointing that the tax abatements that they're given, besides the fact of the federal grants that they already have in place now for securing what they want to build there. And it would be nice if there was some way that we could get that wealth and that luxury that's along the ocean front to help contribute to some of these dire needs that are necessary in Long Branch. Even if you can't do something with the tax abatements, if there was stuff that was already in place, but if you would try to have a firm backbone with these people and get them to either help the seniors with a pool, a recreation center, or some sort of a shelter, and especially Mayor Pallone, in your campaign promise, the fact that you have your brother in Monmouth County, if not for Long Branch, at least more for Monmouth County, for those in the population that needs some more assistance, affordable housing, shelters and centers. And basically, I'd also like to congratulate Kelly on all that she does. I know that Facebook can be a hard place to live sometimes. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Guess that's me by default. Ernest McNolly, Asbury Park, New Jersey, born in Long Branch, New Jersey. So I'd like to pick up about the comments about a psychiatrist. I know or don't know if he meant it literally, but we do have another example. Not that long ago in the Long Branch school system, for budget reasons, there was employed a psychiatrist. And that person, for whatever reason, was let go. And not long after, we started to have the horrible killings and murders of students against students in Long Branch. And in particular, let's talk about the 284 Van Pelt Place, where one student stabbed another to death over 30 times, right? We don't know what is going on with the Board of Ed. Do we have a psychiatrist anymore in a city that's racked with student pornography, child molestation, pedophilia, priests known to have frequented Holy Trinity, St. James are on this list? Then we have Holy Smoke Cigar Club, frequented by the police and firemen, alcohol, smoke, dangerous stuff, right? Campaign promises, not to worry. We get elected, that'll be closed down. It's not closed down. As a matter of fact, every time I leave here, I go over there, there's 20 or more city employees there with the city cars, drinking alcohol, but who knows what they're doing, bringing women in, bringing convicted sex offenders in here, like Lawrence Taylor, and you all laugh about it. You think it's funny. And I have to go to that church there, and they threaten me on the grounds they're going to have me arrested? You got to be kidding me. What did we elect you all for? How much time do I have?
3 minutes and 10 seconds.
1 minute?
3 minutes.
I can't hear you.
3 minutes and 10 seconds.
That's a long time. Thank you. I need it. Now, every time we read in the paper that something happens in Long Branch, usually within an hour, Police Chief Roebuck makes a national, sometimes a national, like on Wall Street, but in general, he makes a comment. There's no danger to the public. Are you kidding me? Morris Avenue, there was an active shooter. They didn't know where he was with the gun. How does he go in the press and say, it's not a threat to the public? Well, why'd they shut down the school? Are you kidding me? Now, you can't reach Roebuck relative to the Asbury Park press for anything. Everything is a news press blackout in this city. Joyce Jr., right, attacks a woman sexually in a bar with police and firemen. We can't get anyone to talk to. They tell us, well, talk to Washburn out at the prosecutor. He won't talk to anyone. Why? You got that closed loop going here with the city attorneys, with the police chief, with the prosecutors. It's unthinkable. And then you bring in places like Middlesex County, etc. You know, where's this all going to shake down? I don't know. But we do know one thing. Look at the records of the settlements that this city is paying for lawsuits and litigations. You just had a retired Long Branch cop get a $1.5 million settlement plus a disability pension. But if you look back in the story, wasn't he the officer who, him and his wife, put the kids in a little car in Long Branch, doused them with gasoline and burned them to death? Right? That's true. Then we have the West End 6 at the firehouse. Then we have Patrick King, dubious conditions. Then we have the massage parlor stuff with the mayor and council. Stuff going on at Holy Smokes. Who cares? Nobody does anything. Do I have a minute left?
1 minute, 9 seconds.
Okay, let me see what I can do in 9 seconds. I know. Okay. I totally agree with the comments I've heard tonight. One of the greatest things that happened for this city, and I'm hoping it's going to happen for Asbury, is the termination of Ansel Grimarin Law Firm as city attorneys. They have disfigured Long Branch and Asbury. It'll never be the same. And no matter how you paint it, you created something that is repugnant. No one can live here. No one can afford to live here. I can't afford to live here. And you're going to hold that out as a role model? And then you're going to build a $70 one-way ferry ride? Who's that for? Who is that for? And what do you offer once in a while as a conciliatory? You're giving us a park bench or a carousel. Keep it. I think that comments I've heard that this city should come under investigation. Is that my time?
That's all, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Robert Vignolini, and I live on Branchport Avenue in Long Branch. And for 37 years, I have been complaining about the flooding on Branchport Avenue going south. And I've had all kinds of excuses, and I'm not going to name names because it was going to be fixed. When we repaved, it's going to be taken care of. But I've been pretty patient, and I tell you what, your Director of Public Works, Stan DeZuba, not only listened to me, we had a nice discussion. I actually saw him out in the street a few days later, and he came back to me and he told me why we're flooding. A normal storm drain, you look at it and you think, gee, it's got a pipe and it's connected downstream somewhere. Well, the storm drains on Branchport Avenue and the storm drains at the head of Hampton Avenue, no, Harrison, have standing water in it all year long. Has been like that for 37 years. And nobody could really explain it to me except for Stan. Stan came back to me and he said, Bob, those aren't storm drains. Those are bubblers. Anybody know what a bubbler is? A bubbler, it looks like a storm drain, but it's not a storm drain. They use it in areas like of Ocean County that are very sandy, so that water can percolate into the aquifers below. Whenever they put this together years ago, they put bubblers in where they should have had hard-piped storm drain. So Stan came back to me, he says, don't worry about it. We got the engineers on it. Going to be part of the master plan. We'll get it fixed. I got to tell you, we were sitting in our living room about 11 years ago and some guy came down the street and he thought he was a boat. He hit the pole and knocked the power out to several houses in the area. I feel bad for law enforcement. Law enforcement, they shouldn't have to go around this city and put cones and block off flood areas. And I can see that we're slowly getting there. But I wanted to make an appearance at the council tonight to tell you how good of a job I think Stan has been doing. And I really appreciated how he got back to me and said, hey, this is what the problem is. And it wasn't like the past where I've gotten told, oh, we're going to fix it. And I just got one more other compliment for Stan. The city yard, if any of you haven't been down to the city yard on Atlantic Avenue, you need to take a look at that place. Because over the year, this past year, because I tend not to leave my stuff out, and if I can bring it down to the yard, I bring it down to the yard. Whether it's leaves or paper or whatever it is, I try to bring it down there. They have a gentleman down there, I'm not sure what his name is, but I will tell you, when you pull your car onto that property, it's like you're being served. How can I help you? What's going on? Do you need a hand? This young man has done a great job down there, cleaned it up tremendously. So, and I guess he understands direction because that's part of Public Works. So that's all I had was the two things. The storm drains that I know are going to get fixed because it's a problem that can be fixed with the proper engineering, and then also the yard on Atlantic Avenue. Did I use all my 5 minutes? Yeah?
You have a minute left.
What?
You have a minute left.
I don't need it. I wish, no, you can't have it. Or can I sell it to him?
I'll buy it. I'll give you $10 for it.
But,
We don't
you know,
do that.
again, I feel bad for law enforcement. You see these guys running around with the cones to make sure that the roads are safe. We got to get by this. This should have been addressed years ago. And it is a shame sometimes that people think they can go through these large pools of water and they get stuck. And it's just not a good thing. But I've got confidence in this administration. I got confidence in Stan. Is Stan here tonight?
He is.
Where is he? Oh. I didn't even know you were here. But thank you very much. I appreciate you getting back to me and telling me why this is such a safety, it's a traffic safety issue when you have water that high in the street. I used to take my shoes off and just wade across the street when I got home from work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deacon, thank you. Thank you for your comments about Stan and about the yard. In 2000, prior to 2012, a lot of those spots have just been neglected. And in 2012, we started, and Stan, chime in if you can, we started mapping, what was it, about 40 or 50 spots throughout the city, that need address, from old infrastructure, narrow pipes, etc. It's always a combination of money and how much we can do and where to do it and so forth. So we're trying as best we can. Stan, if you can chime in. But for example, I've just gotten a few compliments about the whole work that's been done from Spring Street all the way to Willow through on to Morris, which was a pretty expensive capital project. And people have said that it's working. It was a lot of work. We're still in the process of it. Bill, our engineer, Stan, I don't know, can you comment on any of this stuff?
Yeah, we're working hard at trying to come up with a plan that's feasible for us to take care of. We do have a lot of problems, as you said, and we're working one by one, and hopefully Bridgeport Avenue will be the next one on the line. Our engineer's right here. We've been out with him several times, and before we do the paving and all that, hopefully we'll be able to connect that all together so we do it all in one shot. Other areas, we put in the duck bills along the river areas and stuff like that to keep the backflow preventers, actually what they've already keep the water from coming back from the river to the tidal. That seems to be working, and then we have several other areas. We're going to look at Chelsea Avenue, at Fifth Avenue, on that street right there where that's constantly a problem. Unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with New Jersey Transit on some of that stuff, so this might take a little bit longer. But the mayor and the council and all of us together trying to come up with a plan.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening? Okay. I need a motion to close the public participation portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Before we go on to our resolutions, I've asked Mr. Ranone to comment on the Lower Broadway project.
Thank you, Council President. This agreement, this finance agreement, was actually an attachment to a redevelopment contract and was part of a greater global settlement with the Lower Broadway partners that goes back over 2 years. So I think that it's not an appropriate characterization to say that somehow this is a tax abatement that's granted anew by this council. In reality, this was a kind of a multi-stage transaction that involved a $1.2 million payment to the city probably about 18 months ago, and it involves another $960,000 payment that's required to be made to the city, and the transfer of certain properties that was agreed to be transferred to the Lower Broadway partners. So this really was kind of a long time coming, and the question becomes, it's easy to come up to the microphone and say, well, you should just not grant any tax abatements and because it's bad public policy and you shouldn't do it. Well, here in this circumstance, there's a consequence to not approving these ordinances. The first consequence is of course that you would completely unwind this transaction. It would require the city to pay back, at the very least, pay back the money that was already
received by the city, which is $1.2 million. It would require the city to forego any additional money that it was going to get. That's the first thing that would happen. I would assume that that's the first thing that will happen as a prelude to the city being sued under the terms of this transaction. And the city would have to, of course, incur the cost to defend itself. The third thing that would happen is that this project wouldn't happen, right? There'd be no project on Lower Broadway. That property would remain vacant. And while there's some that might think that that's a good idea, and I've heard people say, well, let it stay as a parking lot. Well, the fact of the matter is the city owns a few lots there, but the majority of it is not owned by the city. So we don't have a right to tell people who own property that we're just going to use their property as a parking lot. And I would assume that if litigation ensued as a result of the city breaching the redevelopment agreement, that there's probably little likelihood that whoever is the owner of this property, whether it remains Lower Broadway or whoever buys the property, is going to allow the city to just simply use their property for nothing. So, as I said, I think that the council has been pretty clear to me, and anybody who has been following the council agendas, as I know many people in the audience tonight do, they'll know that this has been on the council agenda virtually every meeting for 3 or 4 months. And it's not a decision that the council came to lightly, and certainly the council has put myself and redevelopment counsel Kevin McManaman through the paces of answering every single question that council had and making sure it happened. But in the end, the city each new administration is not a new city, right? There's a continuity to it. So when a previous administration agrees to an agreement and takes money and it binds itself to do something, unfortunately, that's what has to happen. And this is not a circumstance where the redevelopment agreement left much discretion to the city. It literally had the finance agreement as an attachment to the redevelopment agreement, and there was an agreement in principle that in exchange for the city taking certain funds and approving the project, that this tax abatement would be granted. The one thing that we were able to achieve, and which was an important part to the city, was that we've accelerated the project, so at least it's not a circumstance where there's a grant of an abatement and that the project is just going to sit. So now the first 2 phases are going to be built. There is a positive cash flow to the city. There is a substantial improvement to Lower Broadway that's going to be done. It's going to cost, there's $4.8 million in bonds that are in the second bond ordinance here. Those improvements are going to be closer to $6 or more than $6 million. The developer will obviously pay the difference between the two. So there are public improvements. There is the concept of getting a piece of property that has sat for a very long time since those buildings came down, and before that, of course, the buildings weren't in particularly good shape and the city wanted them down. So all of those steps and accelerating the project is things that we've done in the last 6 months to try to make what was a deal really a fait accompli a little bit better for the city, but we weren't left with much negotiating room given the fact that, as I said, the city had previously agreed to this and had taken the money. So I think the city council was left with, and the mayor was left with, very few options here. The options they were left with were not particularly in the city's best interest, and I think that the city council went through the appropriate process in this circumstance and explored each and every one of their various options and came to the conclusion that moving forward with something that the city was obligated to move forward with anyway, and not blocking it, was probably in the best interest of the city. And I just wanted to make it clear that what the difference is between this and this isn't a circumstance where somebody just simply filed a request, the Kushners or anybody else filed a request to get a tax abatement, and that you looked at it and said, yeah, let's give them a tax abatement. I can't account for whatever discussions were with the Board of Education, but I'm assuming that whatever those discussions were about this tax abatement probably took place 2 years ago when the tax abatement was approved. And I'm sure everybody voiced their opposition to that at the time, but unfortunately this council is left with dealing with whatever the mess that's left, and the mess is made worse by the fact that you know, the money in question has been taken, it's been used, it was used and spent probably long before this council got here. And basically you're left with the check. And you know, unfortunately, you know, when you're the adults in the room, you have to do what has to happen here. And I don't think anybody's feeling great about this. But in the end, you'll get the project, you'll get the improvements to Lower Broadway. It'll begin the reconstruction of Lower Broadway, and to that extent, those benefits will be achieved. So,
And
thank you.
the RAB is lower?
The RAB is lower, and we did reduce the RAB to make sure that it was clear that you know, there were, you know, the other part about this is the RAB was where it was because the city, more than a year ago, requested that the developer do more in terms of the improvements to Lower Broadway than the developer had proposed. And by reducing the RABs at this point in time, we've made it clear that the developer is paying its fair share of those improvements.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Council President.
Mayor Pond, do you have any comments? Mayor?
Sorry?
Did you want to comment the fact that we
No,
met with the
that's-
Board of Education or anything? Because you did indeed discuss this with them when we met with them last month.
Well, you were with me.
Yeah, we, you know, Mayor Pallone, myself, and Bill Dangler met with the Board of Education last month, and were fully aware of our plans, and, you know, I'm not sure why they would have commented otherwise to that effect. We do have, you know, we will have ongoing discussions with them for any further projects, and they're fully aware of that as well. So, Councilman Dangler, did you want to comment on that as well?
Yes. They may or may not have known about it being on the agenda tonight, but we did again discuss that if in the future, if we were going to have projects where tax abatements would come into play, it would be important for the Board of Education to know it if there would be an influx of children. That's what part of the issue is in regards to their fair share going to the school district. And that we will keep certainly our word in regards to that. And that was other than everything else that's been said, that is the one thing that I would like the residents to know, that if it's going to affect the school and the tax base for the school regarding the influx of children with Lower Broadway, it doesn't appear, now we can't guarantee, but for the price and so on of these homes that will be there, the few that will be there, it doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue in regards to the growth of the school district.
Right. Thank you.
And I would just like to add that since July 1st, we have had several informal discussions and requests from developers who are interested in a tax abatement. And we have made clear to all of them that we've spoken to so far that that's not an option.
That's correct. That's correct, Mayor.
Thank you. And also, you know, as far as giving to the community, we've talked about pools, community centers. One of the components is affordable housing in Phase 3. And so those discussions are ongoing, and we don't want you to think that, we're not discussing those things. They are. And working very, very hard for the citizens of Long Branch. And hopefully, some of these things that we've all wanted will be, come true. So.
And that's what Council President Wittes is talks about too, with affordable housing. I mean, this is a small part of everything, but again, this new agreement speeds up the whole timeline. So for example, the original agreement was in 4 phases, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The affordable housing component of the project didn't kick in until Phase 3, sometime in Phase 3. So currently, what was introduced this evening, Phase 1 and Phase 2 will happen at the same time. So if construction of 1 and 2 happens at the same time, what becomes what in essence was a 5 or 6 year timeline before we even entertain the idea of 30 affordable housing units, that whole process gets speeded up. So for example, if this project happens and construction of 1 and 2 is completed in the next 2 to 3 years, then, even prior to that, we would start negotiating everything in 3 and 4, of which is the 30-unit housing component. That's part of that.
Thank you. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We can take the listed resolutions as a consent agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dankler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes. At this time, I'd like to give each council person and the mayor the opportunity to address the audience.
No, only thing I wanted to say is to the officer who was hurt. I know a couple officers were injured, minor injuries, but the officer who stayed overnight and so on, I just wish him well and a speedy recovery, not so much to just get back to work, but just to have his health back and get back with his family.
Okay. Councilman Vieira?
Yes, firstly, I would like to congratulate Kelly for being Employee of the Month. It's great to have employees like her. Secondly, it bothers me when I sit up here and when I vote for these tax abatements that we inherit. It bothers me, but we inherit this stuff, and when I vote, I put myself as a Long Branch resident. And for me, I do not want to see that empty lot any more than it's been. And the people that live around it don't want to see it anymore than it's been. So we inherit this, and we're going to go forward with it, and we have to have something being built there. And I know it bothers us, and it bothers me, especially as a resident. And I don't want to do it, but I have to as a resident. It's like well, I always say this as it's in your gut, but we, as Long Branch resident, and we have to put the city first and its people. And I'm one of those persons, so I think it's the best interest for the city of Long Branch to do that. And thank you for coming.
Thank you. Councilwoman Vogt?
So a few quick things. Certainly, all of our thoughts are with the police officer that got hurt, and certainly praying for his speedy recovery. A thank you to Bob for recognizing Stan. Certainly, when we talk about Long Branch Pride, you don't get much better than Stan, and so we all share your thoughts and appreciation of his fine work, and it's very nice to hear the public recognize those things. So thank you for doing that, and thank you, Stan, for all that you do. Next, if for those of you who did not attend the Police Citizens Academy police conversation the other night, can't remember what the date was, Tuesday night, you missed a very, very significant, important, and really great event. And what made it so good was the very straightforward, heart-to-heart conversation that was going on between the residents and the police officers on issues that we don't get a chance to talk about very much. And it started a conversation that we're hoping is going to go on with several more sessions like that, but I think everybody felt that night that we started talking about relationships that are important, and I think we were all glad that we had a chance to be a part of it. And last, again, this is in the category of Long Branch Pride. We all were privileged to get an email from the president of the Firemen's Mutual Benevolent Association, and we were told that the Long Branch Fire Department Benevolent Association Local 68 had been chosen as Local of the Year out of 70 locals that exist around the state. And some of what was written, this local works day in and day out to not only provide the best possible service to the great city while on duty, but also off duty as well, and just mentioned so many of the things that are done just out of care and concern for Long Branch. So I think it's another thing that we can all feel very good about the good work that gets done in our city. So thanks to everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Councilwoman Zelli?
I have two things tonight. First of all, I'd like, if you don't already know, tomorrow is the end of February, which happens to be Black History Month. And so tomorrow at noon, there will be a program called In Harmony at the Senior Center. And you are, even though you all look out there, you're not seniors, you're more than welcome to come to the program. There will be an inspirational speaker and perhaps some good food. The last thing I'd like to say is Godspeed to the police officers that were hurt. May they get well, come back to duty, and thank them for their service.
Thank you. Mayor Pond?
Yeah, thank you. So I won't reiterate some of the things that some of the council people had already said, but I do want to thank the police officers. I hope they get well. And to Council Vice President Sully's comment about a Black History Month tomorrow at the Senior Center. Last Saturday, there was a great event at the library, and I wanted to thank Mr. Willie Snell for putting together a program which I didn't know a whole lot about, on the Liberty Street Elementary School, which I think stood until about 1980 or so. So thank you for that. That was a really well-attended event. So on Monday, on February 25th, we had a coffee with the mayor event at Oliver Byron Firehouse in North Long Branch. Over 50 residents attended. The event invited residents to come and have a casual conversation with myself and other city representatives and city council members. With such a great response, we plan to have more events like this throughout different parts of the city. And our next one will be the second week of April. For more details, please visit the Office of the Mayor Facebook page or our city website. Tonight, we honored Employee of the Month Kelly Hughes from the Chief's Office. I just want to add that Kelly does an excellent job assisting with the outreach to residents through social media platforms. She also is essential in the operations of the police department and is always professional and friendly with her daily interactions with the public. Thank you to everyone who volunteered at the Warming Center on 7th Avenue. I would like to thank the many volunteers who took shifts throughout the night, and for the volunteers who have organized the shifts. Your dedication is greatly appreciated. I also would like to thank Director of Public Works Stan Zuba for assisting us with that location, for getting it ready, for getting the water and the heat and everything together. And Stan is just always looking ahead to help with any of these ideas that we bring forward to him. So thank you, Stan. Some of these things I've said before, but I'm just going to repeat them. The Long Branch Recreation Junior Cheer Competition Program is back. It's available for boys and girls, grades 1st through 5th. The cost is $100. Anyone interested can call Recreation at 732-571-6545. The Long Branch Green Team is accepting compost garbage from 12 to 2 p.m. on Wednesdays and Sundays at the same 7th Avenue Community Gardens. Materials they're accepting are fruit peels, rinds, veggie scraps, eggshells, tea bags, coffee filters, plant trimmings, and shredded paper. I'd also want to add that I believe on the evening of March 7th at 7 o'clock, they're having the next Green Team meeting up here at City Hall, and I think everyone is welcome. You just might want to confirm on the website that I have the date correct. 2019 beach badges are now $45 for adults, $30 for students. They're available on sale until May 24th at the Recreation Department and the tax office. The city along Long Branch, along with the Chamber of Commerce and Seashore Day Camp, which we're glad to have back, and school will be hosting the Easter egg hunt on Sunday, April 14th, with a rain date of April 20th from 11 to 1 p.m. at the West End Park. City of Long Branch employee opportunities can be found on our website, www.visitlongbranch.com. Under employment, please visit the page often as it is updated frequently. The Office of the Mayor Facebook page is looking for submissions to highlight volunteers and community members who go above and beyond to help those in Long Branch. If you'd like to recognize an individual or group, please email Lindsay DeAngelis at longbranch.org, or just call the administration office. The Facebook page is also running a photo contest right now. More details can be found on the Office of the Mayor page. The winner will be highlighted on our new website. Council President Wittes, did you set the date for the new volunteer meeting, or is
Yes,
that?
it's Tuesday.
When is that?
It's Tuesday, this coming
This coming
Tuesday, the
Tuesday, what is
5th.
that, March 5th?
At 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock, and
it's right
all are
here.
welcome?
Yes.
The new bulk waste and brush schedule goes into effect March 1st. As I've mentioned before, our goal is changing the schedule is to have a more efficient DPW department offering more services to residents and to have cleaner streets. Please go to our website, visitlongbranch.com, for more information. And again, thank you all for being here this evening and for your comments. Have a great week.
And I too want to extend my, sincere prayers for the officers that were hurt. And, we thank them every day for being out there and, looking out for our welfare. And just want to let them know that they are in our prayers. And we'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and expressing your concerns. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.